elephant never forgets. But a hummingbird?
They're smarter than me.
A monkey can learn how to play fair. But what about a fish?
This is one of the most devious, cunning fishes in the ocean.
Hand it over.
And if you can't teach an old dog new tricks, perhaps you haven't spent time with a pig.
Esther is 650 pounds of pure genius.
I need to be closer.
Researchers are going to new depths to probe the animal mind. But when it comes to understanding how animals think,
Let's see what she does.
it's often all about us.
We have this massive superiority complex.
So can the latest science change the way we think about them? The Samara Reserve in South Africa's Eastern Cape, home to the Vervet Monkey Research Project and a world away from the University of Lethbridge in Canada. Every year, psychology professors Louise Barrett and husband Peter Henze make the trek to study the monkey's social behavior and cognition.
Lovely.
They're among a growing group of scientists trying to look at animal intelligence through a different lens.
I think the reason why we tend to underestimate other animals' intelligence is because we see everything through our own human-centered spectacles. We can't take them off. So it really is a matter of trying to get into the animals' world and see it through their eyes and then understand what it takes to do what they do.
It's a Vervet alarm call, a vocal distress signal that a predator is in their midst. Except in this case, there's no predator lurking. Just a graduate student playing back a recording of an alarm call to see how the monkeys will react. The typical response is to escape into the trees.
But a lot of the animals are looking around and trying to gather more information about whether there is a real threat here. So to take the time to monitor the situation and then decide on a response is probably the more sensible thing to do.
Sensible and smart. As part of a larger than average troop, these vervets are spread out, so danger could be in the distance.
Cognition means knowledge, means how you come to know your world, to allow you to survive. We think that clever behaviour are things like playing chess or doing math. We're such a self-absorbed species. It's always a comparison between, are they as clever as us? Can they do the same things that we do?
From fairy tales to Disney films, we've always attributed human-like traits to other animals. It's called anthropomorphism.
Yes!
Even scientists do it.
Come on, there's a good girl. I've got a dog and I treat her as though she's got a degree from Harvard. Come on, Cass. When I'm interested in other animals scientifically, then you have to take a step back from that.
Even the most simple-looking animal behavior, like grooming, is more than skin deep.
So grooming obviously helps animals keep clean, but it also can be useful as a social tool because grooming's a service you can offer to another animal. And in return for that, if you groom a dominant animal, they're less likely to be aggressive towards you. So it has this variety of functions.
There's even an added bonus for your brain.
Grooming makes you feel good because it produces endogenous opiate hormones. So you feel good. It's a bit like a runner's high. And what's very interesting is that the animal who does the grooming also shows a similar response.
If you're a low-ranking vervet on the social ladder, grooming a higher up is a smart move. Because sooner or later, you might need a friend.
You never know when a predator's going to show up. You have to be able to deal with that.
A wild cat appears to be on the prowl. It's a caracal, one of the vervet's main enemies. And while it's actually just a stuffed predator, the reaction is all too real. With visual confirmation of a lethal threat, this time the vervets send out a real alarm.
In circumstances where the animals see that predator, then they will be up at the tops of the trees, because then they can see for themselves that the danger really is there. You have to put the animal in its environment, because that's where I think the intelligence lies. That's the scientific challenge, is to try to understand an animal on its own terms.
It's even more challenging when the animals are hidden beneath the sea. Early morning, off the coast of Dominica. And Shane Garrow is already scanning the horizon.
I think every kid when they're 8 to 10 years old wants to be a marine biologist, and I think I'm just still that kid.
He's searching for sperm whales, the magnificent and massive animals he's come to know so well.
Today's really special because it's my birthday, and in the 11 years that I've run the project here in Dominica, we've never had whales on my birthday. Straight ahead, 12 o'clock.
Not just any whales, creatures of legend.
I think if you read Moby Dick, you get the wrong picture of what a sperm whale is about.
Oh yeah, let's go to that.
They're seen as sort of this aggressive monster of the deep, the biblical Leviathan, right? And it's as far from the truth as possible.
Oh, so nice.
The Dominica Sperm Whale Project has been unique in our ability to follow families across time, to know animals as individuals, as brothers and sisters, as mothers and babysitters, all living together in the community that's here in the Caribbean Sea.
About 300 live in these waters. But even though they're the largest toothed animals in the ocean, they're not easy to find. That's because they dive up to 1,200 meters.
Dave, let's do one here.
Garrow and his team are researching how the whales communicate. But to get to the bottom of sperm whale behavior, you can't just look, you listen.
It's hard for us to picture a world of sound, but they see through sound, they communicate with each other through sound.
So one animal sounds kind of like this, 2 animals sounds kind of like this, and 3 or more start sounding like bacon frying or popcorn popping. And if we're frying bacon, it's going to be a good day of research. It means there's lots of whales around. We're going to use the directional hydrophone to figure out where the animals are.
After more than a decade eavesdropping at sea, Garrow and his colleagues have discovered something surprising.
We know now that these animals have a complex system for communicating with one another.
Sperm whales have actual conversations, even their own dialects. And when they speak, they don't need to open their mouths.
Sperm whales have this giant nose that has evolved as the most powerful natural sonar system. And they use it to make these communication calls that we are studying.
That giant nose is filled with a waxy substance called spermaceti. As the sound bounces around inside the whale's skull, the oily goo acts as an amplifier, conveying messages that are crucial to their survival.
The sperm whale has the largest brain on the planet, and it uses it for complex social understanding. And they're nomadic. They cover hundreds of kilometers. They meet strangers and animals they know. And they need to recognize those animals in order to figure out how to cooperate.
Oh, here she goes. Blows right there. Yeah, there she is. Nice dorsal.
It takes a lot of intelligence to remember who your friends are, who your enemies are, what they did to you last time, whether or not they cooperated with you or turned on you.
It's an example of social intelligence. The brain power needed to remember not just who's who, but how they fit into your life.
You're starting to figure out that they have different calls that they use to identify themselves. They're different patterns of clicks. It's kind of like Morse code for sperm whales.
To decipher the code, he first has to collect the data. And that means tagging an animal the size of a school bus with a mini computer that records their conversations.
Okay, we're approaching a female and a calf. We're at west 61.50639. It's a bit bumpy and there's a little wind, but we'll give it a go. A little closer, Dave. Okay, tag's gone live. I need to be closer. Next surfacing. That's good. Tag on! This is the birthday tag. Pretty psyched, yeah. The tags today are set to come off just after dark, so we'll get a whole day worth of what that whale's been doing underwater and what it's been saying to all the whales that it's hanging out with. When we get the tag back out of the water, we use programs that we've written to tell the whales apart. Each whale uses one call to identify itself, one call to identify its family, and another call that identifies all the animals in the Caribbean. So it's really like, my name is Shane, I'm from family Garrow, and I am Canadian.
From one of the world's largest animals to one of the smallest. Biologist Andy Hurley is heading to a remote research station just to follow one little bird.
I've been fascinated with hummingbirds since I saw them first at my parents' cottage. These tiny little birds that do so much. This is a bird whose brain is the size of a grain of rice. Their hearts beat at more than 1,000 beats per minute. Their wings are beating at 70 beats per second. And so they're little energetic juggernauts.
Every spring, this part of southern Alberta becomes a breeding ground for all kinds of wildlife, including the rufous hummingbird, who migrates from as far away as Mexico.
It seems like he's come all this way for sex, basically.
But it's memory, not mating, that interests these researchers.
So up here this morning, I'm pretty sure I saw a sapsucker going in there. I think that's...
So for the past 25 years, Hurley and research partner Sue Healy have come here to test the bird's smarts.
Sounds like a water thrush in there.
Oh, fantastic. The ability that we can look at them here, for me, that's the really special part, because nearly everything we know about what animals can do with their brains is from within the four walls confined of a lab.
I think over here?
Yeah. So if you... In the lab, we can train animals to do all sorts of extraordinary things, but they don't often bear very close resemblance to what they might do out here. If you can fill the dark blue and the green, okay? So these are really real animals.
Real animals and fake flowers. In an experiment that is low-tech by design, Sue and Andy create a pattern of cardboard discs, artificial flowers, filled with a sucrose solution that resembles nectar.
Beautiful.
Okay. We're offering them slightly better food than they would get in the wild. So they would have to work a little bit harder if we weren't here. And being smart birds, they recognize a good thing when they see it.
Not only do they see it, they remember it. And because male rufous hummingbirds are extremely territorial, the same single bird will come back again and again.
A male rufous hummingbird has hundreds, if not thousands, of flowers in its territory. So he has to remember where the good food is, where he's just visited.
They seem to learn where a flower is after one visit. One visit. And we're still asking the question of how do they do that?
It's not just bird brain power, it's biology. Hummingbirds have such a high metabolism, they can't afford to waste precious energy looking for food.
You and I are thinking about we need a meal every 4 or 5 hours. A hummingbird's thinking about I need a meal every 10 minutes. They need to make decisions that are really important. If they don't do it well, they die.
For hummingbirds, timing is everything. This is where the experiment gets tricky. Can the bird figure out which fake flowers contain food and which ones are empty?
Half of those flowers, after the bird visits, we wait 10 minutes before we refill them. And the other half of the flowers, after the bird visits, we fill them after 20 minutes. So a bird will come in, visit 3 or 4 flowers and go away, and he'll come back 10 or 15 minutes later, and he has to decide which flowers to visit. And obviously the first decision is to go to flowers he hasn't visited yet.
This bird has already fed from the red and the green, so the next time he comes back, he heads straight for the purple.
After just a day of doing this, he starts to really separate those 10-minute and 20-minute flowers out and treat them differently.
It's called episodic memory, remembering not just the what and the where, but the when. A cognitive skill once thought to belong only to humans.
I would need a clipboard and a pencil and 8 different stopwatches for hours and hours and hours, yet the birds are able to do this seemingly without effort. They're smarter than me.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're just amazing. People so often jump to the presumption that the brain size of an animal is going to predict the capabilities of these animals. Hummingbirds have extraordinarily small brains, and yet they do things that we find phenomenal.
It's a question scientists are still debating. When it comes to brains, does size matter?
Well, brain size obviously does matter. There's no point in denying it in the sense that we have very, very large brains for our body size, and we do have really amazing capacities and abilities. But if I leave you on a desert island, chances are you won't last very long, no matter. Your big brain's not necessarily going to help you because you don't necessarily have the right knowledge to allow you to survive. So if you think of it in those ways, then the way to look at other animals is to say, okay, what do they need to be able to survive in this particular niche?
When Darwin developed his theory of evolution, he was going against the prevailing view that was centuries old. Nature was a hierarchy with humans at the top, and all other creatures incapable of conscious thoughts or feelings.
Animals are just like little mechanical objects, you know, they don't have souls, so they can't possibly think. We should recognize that it's not whether they can do it like us that matters, it's how effectively they can do it in terms of the environment in which they live.
Lincoln, England. A city that dates back more than 1,000 years, and the unlikely home for an ancient species.
Moses is my pet tortoise. He's very inquisitive, he's very outgoing. He's wonderful. I absolutely adore him.
Moses is a high-achieving research assistant at the University of Lincoln's Cold-Blooded Cognition Lab.
We have a really fairly good understanding of cognition in mammals, pretty good understanding in birds, but we know very, very little about reptiles. People think that they're really sort of slow, they're very sluggish, and they're not very intelligent. And actually, so did science for a long time. But if they come and spend time in my lab here, the first thing everyone says is, my goodness, aren't they interested? Don't they move a lot? And, oh, sorry, Mosey. And I think that one of the issues is that maybe if they're not kept in the best sorts of conditions, their response to that is to actually sort of stop doing things.
So Mosey and his fellow tortoises live in a space designed to simulate their natural environment, with heat lamps, water pools, and food fit for an herbivore.
Moses will do pretty much anything for a very little piece of strawberry.
Anna Wilkinson designs experiments that reflect skills reptiles have to master to survive in the wild.
Tortoises are very visual. And one way we look at their cognition is to look at actually how they can learn to discriminate between different visual stimuli. And the one which is most salient to them is colour. So can they learn to, say, approach a red stimulus over a green stimulus? Well done. We've discovered that they can, and they can do that really fast.
Some of the tortoises have even learned to adapt to technology, figuring out how to use a touchscreen. But if this slow creature and other reptiles are such quick learners, why have scientists misjudged their intelligence?
Generally, when we design experiments, we actually ask animals to conform to our world as humans. It's essential that we understand the ecology in which they would naturally live. So, for example, when we're doing experiments with these guys, we wouldn't lean over them, because, of course, that might that might simulate, say, predation. And so, of course, if we then do that, they are not going to exhibit the behaviours which they're potentially capable of. The other thing is that if we take a tropical reptile, which is used to moving about in 30 degrees, and test them in a cold room, they won't be able to show us what they can do.
Wilkinson's eureka moment came a decade ago as a PhD student, when she and a professor discovered that turning up the heat could change the behavior of the animals.
It can be a bit hot and sweaty for the humans, but that's what we need to live with.
It was a critical turning point for reptile research, and Moses, who had to learn everything on his own.
With many reptiles, the parents don't stick around after they're born. In fact, they don't stick around after they've laid their eggs. And so they don't get this sort of protected environment that maybe mammals and birds would get. They have to learn everything from scratch. And that's one reason why I think that these guys have really phenomenal cognitive capabilities.
But recognizing animals' intelligence can be even more difficult when they live under the sea or behind glass.
A good friend of mine used to have cichlids, just like these, and he told me that when he would watch horror movies, the cichlids would watch the movie with him. When a scary scene would arise, the fish would actually dart behind their plants and hide. It sounds ridiculous, but these fish are incredibly intelligent.
Inspired by his friend's experience, neuroscientist Trevor Hamilton set up an experiment to test the cichlid's long-term memory.
There's an urban legend that fish have about a 3-second memory span.
He trained them to associate a food reward with a specific visual pattern. Black and white lines moving up or down.
And then waited another 12-day period and tested them on that day.
6 out of 7 cichlids remembered to swim to the correct pattern nearly 2 weeks later.
It is a lot different than 3 seconds.
Fish have been terribly misunderstood by us.
Jonathan Balcombe has spent the last 4 years exploring the latest research into the underwater lives of fish.
They have cognition, they have emotion, they're smart, they're sophisticated. So we really need to have a new view of how we look at fishes. My first recollection of being aware of them as individuals with lives was when I was 8 years old in grade 4. I volunteered to carry the goldfish bowl and it just slipped right out of my hand, smashed on the floor. And then we started searching for this little goldfish, and it was as if he just floated up into the fish heavens. And finally we found him. And the fish was still alive, but in pretty bad shape by then. It was a moment where I realized that I had a deep concern for these animals, and that they, for me at least, they had lives that mattered to them.
In fact, fish can see a lot in their murky underwater world. With their extraordinary visual capabilities, some can even recognize human faces and each other. And some have developed a highly tuned sensitivity to sound.
In one study, koi fish were presented with 2 genres of music, the blues and classical music. These fishes not only could distinguish between blues and classical music, but they could distinguish between Beethoven and Bach. Most fishes are social. They have preferences, they recognize each other as individuals, and they know who they want to swim with.
The cleaner wrasse may be a small fish in a big ocean, but it's also one of the smartest.
The cleaner wrasse is one of the most sophisticated examples of social intelligence in any animal. This fish makes a living by plucking parasites and algae off the skins of other fishes who we call client fish. The cleaner fishes advertise they're open for business. They swim in a vertical pattern, kind of like a barbershop, little rotating, stripy thing. And from the client's perspective, it's spot treatment time. The clients are usually many, many times bigger than the cleaners, and the cleaners will just bravely swim right into the mouth, and the clients cooperate with them. They never eat the cleaners. You don't want to eat your business partner. It's not good for future business. Cleaner wrasses also go the extra mile sometimes if they want to curry favor with clients to encourage them to come back. They will caress the client with rapid strokes of their pectoral fins. It's like an example of brown-nosing.
But before we deem the cleaner wrasse the most altruistic animal, Balcombe has a warning for potential clients.
It can get a little bit Machiavellian.
It turns out that cleaners are dining out on their clients.
That slimy layer on the outside of a fish is actually highly nutritious and apparently quite palatable to cleaners. And if they get the opportunity, they may bite a piece of that off. This is one of the most devious, cunning fishes in the ocean.
Back on land, another animal is about to be put to the test.
Well, let's see what she does.
It's time for an afternoon matinee.
These guys are really good at watching movies.
No popcorn, though, just some tasty mealworm snacks. As Peaches, a bearded dragon, demonstrates a fascinating experiment.
And they get to see a movie of another bearded dragon. And what's critical is what is in that movie.
The 11-second movie features another lizard trained to open a gate to get to the mealworms on the other side.
For some of our animals, they get to see a bearded dragon open a gate in a rightward direction. Some of the other animals get to see the bearded dragon open the gate in the opposite direction. And what they then do is they get the opportunity to open that gate. And what's crucial is how do they open it? And what we find is quite remarkable. The bearded dragons that saw the gate open to the left, they also opened it to the left on their first successful trial. The bearded dragons that saw the gate opening to the right also opened the gate to the right. So these guys have actually shown evidence of imitation. And imitation is actually considered the sort of pinnacle of social learning.
But how do the researchers know that the behavior is a sign of intelligence and not just instinct? Tom is part of a control group that watches a movie with a very different ending.
We have a group of animals who get to see the gate open, but a bearded dragon doesn't do it. The gate opens as if by magic. And what we then do is we give those bearded dragons access to that gate and we see what they do. They just failed. They couldn't do it at all. So it tells us that it's actually learning about the behavior of that other bearded dragon that they saw, that is what allows them to access a goal. This is the first ever example of imitation behavior in reptiles. And so if we can see these behaviors in groups of animals, it really tells us that they have quite sophisticated cognitive abilities.
It's one thing to act clever in a lab. But what about animals we raise for our own consumption? Swine, porkers, squealers. Even the words humans use to describe pigs don't sound too appealing.
They are the most intelligent of the farm animals, and yet they quite often get the roughest ride in the commercial farming world.
Farmer Sarah Buttle raises rare breeds in the English countryside. No industrial-sized pigsties here, just the chance for the pigs to be, well, pigs.
They are herd animals. They love being as part of a gang, and you'll see that when we get onto the maze.
She's built a straw maze on her property to demonstrate research conducted at the nearby University of Bristol.
What Sarah's done here, and really well, is try to recreate our experiment.
So these guys are now 3 months old, and they've been in training in the maze for about a week.
Have you been finding it quite easy to train them?
They learn very fast. It's amazing. They're always enthusiastic about anything to do with food.
Researcher Suzanne Held has advised Sarah to divide the piglets into 2 groups. Group 1 features the more dominant animals, kind of the leaders of the pack.
So I've taken the 3 through who are the more proactive pigs. These are the more passive pigs. So we're going to let these 3 run first. All right, girls, are you ready for this? The first group, we've been putting food at all 5 feeding stations and then letting them come in and work the maze.
Even though they've only been in the maze a few times, they've already figured out the quickest route to all 5 food locations.
They need to remember which one have I been to already and which one haven't I been to. And they're extremely good at these spatial memory tasks.
Good job, little pigs.
Group 2 features the more subordinate piglets, the ones that tend to be the followers.
The second group, the food's only in one place. It's always the same place, so they've learnt to go straight there and not bother with the other feeding stations.
Straight to the bucket. They can learn that in one go.
But the maze test is about to get more complicated.
What we're wanting to do next is see what happens when we put the animals that know where the food is and the animals that don't know where the food is, whether they put them together.
The dominants are pushing their way to the front.
Professor Held wants to see whether the pigs are smart enough to take advantage of each other's knowledge.
Pigs have really intricate social relationships between them. They really monitor each other very carefully, and then they adjust their own behavior accordingly.
The dominant pigs are in for a surprise. The food is in one corner, and only the passive pigs know where to find it.
What can happen is they try and outsmart each other. Look, So the dominants are following them. So they've switched from looking for themselves to following the subordinates and using their knowledge.
But the passive pigs can invent their own strategy, trying to throw the other pigs off the trail.
So the ones that know where the food is may delay going there or may go somewhere else so that they don't get their food taken away. One idea is that that is to do with trying to deceive the dominant pig so you don't lose your foraging advantage.
Is it actually deception? The researchers can't say definitively.
What smart little pigs.
But it's no surprise that George Orwell chose a pig to be in charge in Animal Farm.
Come on, Esther, let's get piggy breakfast. That a girl, come on.
This is Esther the Wonder Pig, our pet mini pig. Yeah, at least that's what we thought.
Come on, Esther.
Wanna go for a walk?
Which way are we going?
Steve Jenkins and his partner Derek Walter have always been animal lovers.
Come on, Miss Pig, let's go.
So 4 years ago, when Steve was approached by a Facebook friend to take in a so-called mini pig, he agreed.
Let's go this way.
With absolutely no idea what he was getting into.
She's got a flair for the dramatic.
Oh, she's out of here.
Esther. We found out very quickly that she was actually a full-size commercial pig and now weighs about 650 pounds. The very first time I met her, she was tiny. You could hold her in the palm of two hands. Maybe 5 or 6 pounds and 8 to 10 inches, I'd say, from tip to tail. She was so small and so little, but she already looked like she had been through hell and back. And I fell in love with her immediately. Come and cuddle. He's a good pig. He's a good girl. I've never met an animal with such a deep emotional and intellectual capacity, I guess is the right word. I mean, I've loved and spent time with animals my entire life, and never, ever have I met an animal like a pig. That's my special girl. Yeah, she's a good girl.
For Esther's caregivers, it was a unique challenge. How do you train a pig, once destined for the slaughterhouse, in a human house?
When it comes to solving a problem, Esther is unbelievably smart. And the more we got to know her, the more obvious that became.
You're home. Come on, Bubba.
Esther recognized how to use doors right away, how to open the refrigerator, sliding mechanisms, latches, hooks.
With having the dogs around our whole lives, we've never seen that before.
Pigs are so intelligent that you can, in fact, train them to do multiple things.
With Esther, who would have thought she can learn to go upstairs and use the bathroom and to live in a house, in a human house? People are probably surprised because they're not used to seeing pigs in different environments other than in a commercial farming environment. But if you spend a bit of time, you see how investigative they are, how quickly they learn, and they can learn the weirdest things.
There's no doubt Esther is different from her farm-raised cousins. But she's still a pig at heart. One who loves to forage in the forest and roll around in a puddle.
Come here, Esther. Come here, Bubba.
Even if it's just a kiddie pool.
Come on.
And like any social animal, she's figured out who's who in the hierarchy.
Esther treats us both really differently.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm her person that she's chosen as far as...
You're mommy.
I'm mommy, yeah.
Good girl.
And I'm a sibling pig.
She gonna do a turnaround or is she heading out?
Looks like we're turning around. It's really neat to see and think that Esther treats us the same sort of way that herd structure is.
Oh, yes.
It's easy to see why Steve and Derek are so smitten with their little genius.
We underestimate animals' abilities so much in terms of what they're feeling.
Come on, baby, let's go in the house. I mean, there's a soul in there. It's not just a mindless, thoughtless being. You know, there's somebody in there.
Even scientists can develop a soft spot for their subjects.
In many ways, these animals are kind of like my second family.
So this one's probably under 2 years old, maybe even under a year.
On the water, I can recognize about 70 different individual whales. And the fact that they're individuals, the fact that we can talk about them as Fingers and Pinchy, is an important part that we overlook about animals. You know, we attribute individuality and emotion to our dogs and cats every day, but we don't do that with wildlife.
Fingers? Pinchy? Not long ago, as the pendulum swung away from anthropomorphism to animal behaviorism, scientists were only supposed to observe the animals, not identify with them.
One of the early taboos was you could not name any study animals. You had to give them a number. So when Jane Goodall started actually giving her chimps names, everybody gave her an unbelievable amount of grief. So that's Rosebud, and that's Cain. He's the steadier. Whoops. Normally, he's the steadier of the two. And Rosebud is the gregarious one who will fly onto any visitor. You haven't said hello to Rosebud in a little while, huh?
Carl Safina is an eminent ecologist and author of several books on animals.
Gonna go home, huh?
While researching a new book, he spent weeks with African elephants and the scientists who study them.
I was really interested in seeing how other animals are like us and how the elephants are like us.
But when he posed that question to a veteran elephant researcher, she wasn't impressed.
Her point was, it's not how they are like us, it's who are they? Well, that was a huge reset on my entire thought process. I called my book Beyond Words, mainly because we're the ones who do most of the talking. Maybe we should just be quiet and listen.
We have to start thinking of these animals as more than just automaton robots that respond to stimuli in the environment. These really are families making decisions. There's a complicated world out there in the ocean.
Mom on the right, the calves are both on the left. Their whole society is matrilineal. It's grandmothers, mothers, and daughters living together for life. The males will leave the family in their late teens and roam the oceans looking for mates. But these females live together because when they make deep dives for food, someone has to stay at the surface with baby. It really takes a village to raise a sperm whale child.
Okay, we're going for the calf now, the tagged mother.
These days, Shane Garrow is determined to tag the littlest whales so he can listen in on baby talk.
How do these calves learn their natal dialect? You know, is mom teaching them? Well, it's similar to babbling. It's kind of like saying dada before saying daddy. And eventually they sound just like their moms when they grow up.
For many species, hanging out with mom is one of the best ways to learn. But it isn't the only way. Sometimes you just have to get up to some monkey business. They're at it again. Round 2 in an epic wrestling match between two Vervet youngsters. It turns out playing builds up mental strength as well as muscle.
This is just unbelievable.
Neuroscientist Sergio Pellis is an expert on how rough and tumble play enhances the part of the brain that deals with attention, decision-making, and the ability to learn from challenging experiences.
As a vervet, because you're so agile, you've got this lithe, really springy body. And so in their play, as one animal tries to grab the other one and bite, the other animal can quickly flip around. So you get these massive acrobatic gyrations in their play. And so now you have to coordinate planning, how am I going to get to your shoulder? What movements do I need to execute? That takes a lot of brain power.
Play also helps young animals, whether vervet or human, find their place in a complex social structure.
You have to have some capacity to be flexible to adapt to whatever comes along. There may be a bully coming into the troop. There may be an absence of a strong leader. So having a means by which you can enhance that capacity to deal with the world in a much more flexible, adaptive way improves your chances of survival.
It's not just about intellectual development, but also emotional intelligence.
For rough and tumble play to not escalate into aggression, there has to be some degree of reciprocation. So they will introduce movements which will help facilitate the other animal getting a shot, to have this degree of fairness. You do have to have some, at least rudimentary, capacity for empathy.
But even though they need to cooperate to survive, one vervet can be incredibly different from another.
I am a big fan of talking about personality in animals. When you watch vervet monkeys for a long time, you really come to recognise the individual differences between them. So you can see how some animals are much more bold and adventurous, and some are very nervous and shy. And you would expect to see that variation because that's how natural selection works, that's how evolution works, because it's all part of the flexibility of behaviour that's needed to survive in a dynamic and unpredictable habitat.
Carl Safina has always been a keen observer of the natural world. But since he began to explore how animals think, he's looking at them in a new light.
Emerson said, most adults cannot see nature because our attention is all about us. We live with millions of species doing incredible things. And the fact is, we are basically exactly the same. We're just shaped differently on the outside, and our brains are evolved to specialize in certain things. Many other animals have much better eyesight than we have, or much better hearing, much better sense of smell. Many of them can travel much faster. So if humans did all of these different things with a mask and a cape, we would call them superhuman superheroes.
And some animals have a super memory. After 25 years researching wild hummingbirds, biologist Andy Hurley is still dazzled by these remarkable creatures.
I've been humbled by these birds.
It's a lesson he hopes to pass on to his students.
I'm going to ask you to forage like a hummingbird.
Back at the University of Lethbridge, he's setting up another memory test with candy instead of nectar and students instead of birds.
Okay, when you were last here, you took food out of 4 of the 8 locations, but the ones you haven't visited still have food, and I want you to go directly to those if you can.
With human brain power, it shouldn't be a problem. And students get it right 75% of the time. The same as hummingbirds.
You have brains that are 7,000 times larger. And my question is, what are you doing with all those neurons? Why are you not scoring better than an animal who has a tiny, tiny brain? Well, I think the answer is that there's intense natural selection on hummingbirds to get this right, because if they don't, they die.
Knowing more about what these animals are doing, we get a better idea of how to save them.
These animals are really ambassadors of the deep. They were fully formed as sperm whales long before humans walked upright. And so studying an animal like this teaches us about being a part of a shared planet.
As for Esther, she's inspired her human caregivers to open a farm sanctuary and become vegans.
Let's go. Good girl. Come on.
Esther was a big thing to open our eyes to actually think about how we perceive pigs and then all these other animals. She made us think, well, if Esther's like this, then that means every pig is. And if all the pigs are like that, then what about the cows and what about the chickens? And she made us question everything that we thought we knew about animals and how they were treated.
Good girl. It's a busy day. It's a very busy day.
I think it's time to really recognise that we are part of nature. We don't stand outside it, and we shouldn't put ourselves at the top of the tree. We shouldn't put ourselves as, the pinnacle of achievement. We are just another animal.